everybody, welcome back to another craft break. My name is Emma Panuski and today we are talking all about Mod Podge photo transfer and Mod Podge image transfer. So if you're totally unfamiliar with both of those words, they are two really wonderful formulas that we have in our Mod Podge family that allows you to transfer precious family photos, really any photo that you want, onto a variety of different surfaces. It makes for some really unique home decor, some really special personalized gifts. It's great for Mother's Day, great for Valentine's Day. It's just a really special way to craft something, you know, fairly on a budget that will really mean a lot to the person that you're gifting that gift to. So I wanted to share with you all the difference between the two major formulas, and I also wanted to show you a really cool technique that you can do with our Mod Podge photo transfer that maybe you don't know about. So let's jump into it. First things first, these are our two formulas, and we often get asked, what is the difference between these two? So the main difference is that image transfer medium will actually transfer your image while allowing whatever you transfer your image to, it'll allow that surface to still kind of show through a little bit. And I'll show you examples of the two. But for example, if you're transferring an image onto wood, then you can still kind of see that beautiful wood grain coming through. Or if you transfer it onto a colored surface, like something purple or blue, you'll be able to see a little bit of that purple or blue tint come through your photo. And for our photo transfer medium, you will actually be transferring the entire image. So I also want to say too, this is another important thing. When you're transferring with either of these formulas, you want to make sure that you're using a dry toner. No wet toners. We just found that that is the best way to get a really clean transfer to your project. But going back to our photo transfer medium, you will be able to see the ink that is transferred onto your project as well as the paper that's being transferred. So in a lot of instances when you're printing on white paper, you'll be able to see whatever cutout that you transfer to your project. So you'll be able to see whatever white that you cut out with your photo. And another really great benefit to our photo transfer medium is that you can transfer to things like fabric and actually wash those fabric pieces in the washing machine. So you can make things like tote bags, baseball caps. I'm going to show you a really cool idea we had for a project a little while ago. We took this family photo and we transferred it to just a thin sheet of white fabric. And then once we were done with the whole transferring process, we put it in an embroidery hoop, and it makes this really special and unique piece of home decor. A really great gift too. So really great for transferring onto things like fabric. Our photo transfer medium is. And I also pulled these two coasters because they're really good at exemplifying the difference between these two formulas. So on our left here we have our clear image transfer, and you can see the really warm tint of that soft wood grain coming through. And then on the right we have this cute little puppy dog, and you can see that it transferred the dog beautifully, and it also transferred that white printer paper color. So that's the real main difference between these two. Again, you can find both of these wonderful formulas on plaidonline.com, our image transfer and our photo transfer. But today we're mainly talking about photo transfer because I wanted to share with you all a really cool technique that you can use with our Mod Podge photo transfer. So we're going to be making some cling decals, like little photo clings that you can turn any image into a photo cling, and then you can use traditional like Mod Podge matte, satin, or gloss and adhere it onto any surface that you want. Or if you use it on a non-stick surface like metal or glass or ceramic, you can keep repositioning it, which is really cool. You can put it on a window, really cool stuff like that. So let's get into it, you guys. I have my dry toner image, this cute little couple, because I had Valentine's Day on the brain when I was making these decals. So I have my printed photo, and then I also have a sheet of wax paper. You'll see why in a little bit, but that's a good thing to have as well. So I'm going to take my photo transfer, take the seal off real quick actually. Put it on my plate. And then I'm going to grab my Mod Podge brush. If you didn't know, Mod Podge has a lot of really great tools that are specifically formulated to work with all of our wonderful Mod Podge formulas. So check those out. Those are on plaidonline.com too. So I'm going to dip my brush into my photo transfer. And I do want to go ahead and say again that this technique is strictly for making decals with your Mod Podge photo transfer. If you want to learn more about the traditional way of using our Mod Podge photo transfer, we have a lot of great resources for you guys on plaidonline.com and also our Plaid Crafts YouTube page. So I have a pretty hefty amount of my Mod Podge photo transfer on my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and just apply it directly to the face of my photo. And the key here is we don't want to see any color coming through. We want it to mainly be white. So that's why I'm applying quite a bit of our photo transfer medium. And I just want it to be really smooth. That's what I love so much about this Mod Podge brush, is that you don't get very many textured points from the actual brush. It just goes on really nice and smooth, which is what we want for this technique. Make sure you cover the whole image, and as you can see, I'm going kind of beyond my image. Always better safe than sorry, because once this is dry, we can trim it up to the actual dimensions of our photo, but it's better to have more rather than less for this technique. Okay, so then I'm just going to kind of go down, make sure that it's not very textured, and make sure that there's enough Mod Podge on the entirety of our image until it looks something like that. Okay? So once you've reached this step, you're going to let it dry overnight for at least 12 hours, and then you will come to see that you have something now that looks like this. So this is a sample that I let dry overnight. It's the exact same thing that we just did. This one is just dry. You can tell it's dry to the touch. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. Obviously we applied our Mod Podge to the photo side, so yours is going to look something like this. I have some clean tap water and a sponge. I'm going to dip my sponge into my water and then start spouncing so that we're transferring that water onto our photo. And you can kind of see too our image coming through a little bit already. Just make sure your whole photo is really nice and damp. So now what we're going to do, some people like to continue to use this sponge for this next step. I like to honestly just use my fingers because I feel like I have a little bit more control over the project. I'm going to use my fingers and start rubbing in a circular motion. And you can see our paper kind of start to pill up. And we're just removing all of that excess paper. Another important thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning, if your photo has any words or anything that you want to make sure stays the same orientation after you transfer your photo, then you want to go ahead and actually reverse your image, because, you know, as you can see, our image was one way and then we flip it over, so now it's backwards. So if it had a word or something like that in the image, the word would be backwards. So most home office programs that you'll probably have yourself, like PowerPoint, Word, things like that, you can actually reverse the image, so it's not hard to do. You don't want to be too aggressive with this step because Slow and steady really is the way to go for this, because you can actually run the risk of removing some of that ink. But as long as you're just gentle with it, it's kind of a patient process. You take your time, then you won't have to worry about that. But you guys can already start to see our image start to come through. And see here, right, when I stopped using the Mod Podge, we have a tear in our paper. That's because the Mod Podge is what's holding it together. That's why I said, better to overdo it than underdo it when you're applying your Mod Podge. Whoops, see? And just make sure that you're keeping your photo damp so that you don't, actually tear the paper or anything like that. Do we have any questions or comments so far, Caitlin?
Nope, it does not look like it.
Alrighty. Every so often, I just kind of wipe away that excess paper. But yeah, I love this technique. This is one of those products that I use, and I can't say that I use it as often as maybe I use like paint or regular Mod Podge in the studio, but every time that I come back to Mod Podge Photo Transfer, I'm always like so re-amazed by just how well it works and just the beautiful project that you're left with at the end. It really is like magic. We're almost done removing our first layer. Make sure that all the paper from our first layer is off. And that's the reason you'll see too that we use this wax paper, because the printer paper doesn't stick to wax paper. Or rather, our Mod Podge photo transfer doesn't stick to the wax paper. So now I'm just trimming this up, taking away all those ugly edges. Following the line of our image. Ideally, you guys, when you do this project at home, once you're done removing that first layer of paper, you're gonna wait about 30 minutes or so for it to dry a little bit. You'll see that the image will get just a little bit cloudy again. And what you'll wanna do is you'll just wanna keep repeating that same process of applying water to your image, making sure that it's damp, and then just taking your fingers to rub some of that paper off. But just for time's sake today, I want to show you how you can turn your Mod Podge photo transfer images into a decal. So I have a glass vase here. And of course, the back of our image has that Mod Podge photo transfer medium to it. So I'm just smoothing it out onto my glass vase. And you have a perfect decal. So ideally, I'd go over this once or twice, one or two more times, just to remove all of that paper, make sure it's nice and gone from our project. But then you have a removable decal or a cling that you can apply and reapply to all of your slick surfaces. How cool is that? So that's one of my favorite techniques to use with our Mod Podge photo transfer. I wanted to share it with you all today because I love to create projects for Valentine's Day and Mother's Day using our Mod Podge photo transfer and our Mod Podge clear image transfer. They're both two really great products to use to make some unique home decor, to personalize your gift giving for both of those holidays. So I want to give a big thank you to all of you for tuning in with us today, and we will